Welcome to another Inside the Truck YouTube. It's been a while. It's been about a month, but we've been busy. I'm Steve. He's Paul. And today, what are we going to talk about, Paul? We're going to talk about something that's caused divisiveness in the television sports viewing community. That can't be right.
Exactly. And on Twitter too. Imagine that.
Nuts.
No, we thought we'd fire up the YouTube machine. I know it's been 30 days since our last one, but this one struck me as we haven't had a chance to discuss this on the podcast, and this is what our YouTube channel for is bonus content. So today's discussion revolves around the Bally Sports NHL score bug. I'll intro it as that. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the Fox Sports Regionals down here in the United States on March 31st rebranded themselves as Bally Sports. And in addition to that, they launched a new look. And I would say the biggest part of the new look, other than sleek, bold, unbelievable animations and graphics, was the score bug that sits at the bottom of the screen.
Can we look at that now? Can you put that in now so we
Well,
can
I
have a
think
look at
before
what it
we go
looks
any
like?
further, I should probably
Ah,
put this in here. We here at on Inside the Truck YouTube channel, we go to no expense and no lengths to our graphics package. So here's our graphics package. I do need to mention this before I go any further with this. So for those of you not looking at the screen, take a look at the screen right now. Okay, now it's gone. Yes.
handheld graphics are highly underrated.
Yeah,
And they
exactly.
really are.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, everything old is new again. Right.
It's like a Charlie Chaplin movie, a
Hmm.
silent movie with
That's
the.
right.
Okay, so now can we look at the Bally
Yes.
Bar and see what it looks like and see why everybody's losing
Abs-
their you know what over it?
Absolutely. So here it is. You'll notice that it sits at the bottom of the screen, or at the bottom of the frame, as we say in the industry. And it really only takes up about 5% of, I would say, not prime real estate down there at the bottom. The only time that this would really come into play would be if you were doing a football game and there was a pass on the near side out of bounds, perhaps. But hey, a lot of NFL shows are going with lower bugs anyway, and I prefer it. Yeah, so as you can see, there's like 95% of the screen that is wide open, for allowing the producer and the director and the production team to paint their Picasso, let's say.
Now, I think it's worth noting that when you change, say, from Fox Sports to Bally, or when you rebrand or redesign any of your graphics packages on any television show, one of the best ways to kind of put your mark on it is with the score bug, right? And there's also a logo up in the corner of the screen with Bally. Almost everybody has it now. Sometimes it's a crystal logo and it means it's see through and maybe it doesn't have any color in it. TSN uses a crystal logo here in Canada, but Bally's not. That's full up color.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically sort of a little, almost like a little business card that sits in the upper right part of the screen. Half of that business card is the stylized B. Um, this B, sorry. Uh, It's up there, as and the other half of the stylized is the team logo. So it's an awesome ability to brand. That's a carryover from the Fox Sports regional days. So not a big change there, but you're right. The key is the thing at the bottom of the screen now, and all the things that it will be able to do are mind blowing.
And they didn't used to have score bugs, and I think they started with logos in the corner, if I'm not mistaken, and then evolved into score bugs over the years. And one of the biggest problems is in hockey, we're used to the score bug at the top, right? And the Bally one's at the bottom, and I think this may have been causing some alarm for some viewers this past week, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like on April 1st, when I launched Twitter to see what was going on, as if I had missed anything, it was like the war had begun. Um, the war on the Bally Bar had begun, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, whether I'm speaking from a
Right,
perspective or a
right.
director's perspective, or even a fan's perspective, I think where it is now and what it does and where it looks is way better than it was before. I think the meat of this issue, Steve, is that people just don't like change. right? They're like they've trained their brain to look for the score at the top of the screen, and now they're looking up, going, "There's no score." Oh yeah, wait a minute, there it is down there. I mean, that's really, I think, because if you actually sit down and think about the pros and the cons of placement of this information, it's way better at the bottom of the screen than it is being completely obstructed in the upper part of the screen.
Now, do you shift the video with the bar, or does the bar actually block some of my picture going home?
Yeah, there's no manipulation at all. The Bally Bar simply sits on top of the game cameras, or the cameras, as you know, not just the game camera, but all the cameras that we cut. So it has resulted in a slight bit of reframing. The couple of games that I've had a chance to work with it so far this season, I noticed that on any play, and we're talking hockey now, on any play that was against the near side boards, the regular framing, the Bally Bar would sort of block and cover. And so if there was a puck coming off the near boards, or a player coming off the near boards, they would come out from underneath the Bally Bar, which doesn't look good. So that only took me, less than a period to figure that out. We readjusted on the fly, and now, now that issue's solved, has been solved. But let's say an example, like we gave a feed to NBC last night, and they have the upper bug too. So I recorded their show and watched it back. And to the keen, trained professional eye, yes, you can, if this is framed properly, you should see a little bit more room in the bottom of your frame, but certainly nothing to throw it, you're not going to throw anything at your TV because of it.
So if you're a lead camera operator and you're giving that share to NBC, did you say to them, "Look, play it a little wider at the top because that's where their score goes"?
So we discussed that during our camera meeting. There's a Q&A portion of every camera meeting, and that was our game camera guy. That was his first question, was how do you want this to look? Because we had to adjust on the fly in our first game when we were a Fox, or sorry, whoops, that's a fine. When we were
Hold up the card again, but point it so you can read it.
when we were when we were Bally Sports, our first game, it didn't matter because we all both had the same Bally bars in. But last night we did a Fox Bally Sports. Wow, I could be fired after this YouTube video. We could do a Bally Bar Bally Sports NBC feed where he asked the question, "How do you want to frame for this?" And I said, I want you to give room where we need it at the bottom of the screen. They're, with all due respect, their NBCSN logo lands where it lands. So that was the extent of the conversation.
And if I'm a camera operator and I know that Bally bar's at the bottom, am I going to tape my viewfinder maybe so I don't let it, it's almost like you falsify your viewfinder so you know how to frame it.
Yeah, I mean, that's standard operating procedure for all sports cameramen. It could either be tape or it could be an erasable marker. Whatever you need to see, whether it's a score bug, or whether it's a half frame graphic, or whether it's a lower third, or anything, an animation that you have to frame for on the fly. Any cameraman worth his salt is going to ask to see that in preview, and then he'll mark it accordingly. So yeah, that completely happens. Yeah.
And see it in preview means you show them the output of your control room so he can see what all the graphics and everything looks like over his shot, right?
Yep, exactly. And the camera meeting, or camera fax, is a good time to do that. And we did that, especially after our first game, because not only did we add the Bally bar, but we have a completely new graphics package. And so some of the side graphics or lower thirds are different than they were in the Fox days. So the camera guys have to get a look at that just so they know how they're supposed to frame.
It reminds me, I'll diverge a little bit. Years ago, NFL Films has always been the benchmark of beautiful pictures for NFL games, and NFL Films has been around a long time. And I remember someone explaining to me one time that the camera operators' viewfinders are double big with hash marks for what their actual camera is showing. So when they track a ball in that beautiful slow mo and they stop right when it lands in his hands, they actually saw it earlier in their viewfinder, so they had time to process, oh, I'm going to have to stop in the middle here. I think
Hmm.
that's so cool. It's one of the tricks that NFL films, I don't know who else has done it before or since, but I remember hearing that about NFL films and thinking that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's very cool. The technology is mind blowing. It really is, and you know, I I'm submersed in it every day. And you know, some days it just kind of feels like a job, but then other days, like when we unveiled our new look on April 3rd with Bally Sports Carolina Hurricanes, it was mind blowing to see the new the new graphics package, the new Bally Bar. You know what the plans are to have it out of the gate, and what it will eventually be able to do is all mind blowing. Like technology is amazing.
And the Bally Bar is run by one person, two people in a separate truck, in the truck with you. How do the logistics kind of play out there?
Well, in Carolina, it's run out of the graphics truck. Graphics has its own truck, so in that truck is the Bally Bar. It's also our graphics coordinator or graphics producer, and our Viz RT operator. So that's the fonts. That's our font department. So they all kind of work hand in hand. Our graphics producer is in charge of all that stuff. So he's constantly building, quarterbacking what we're doing from a graphic standpoint live during the show. But he's also overseeing our Bally Bar operator as well too, and they work together in tandem. So anything that needs to be updated quickly on the fly, he'll assist in that role.
And some of the items that you use on the air are preloaded, and how much of it is typed up as you go? Not much. Is it all preloaded, or how does that work?
Are you talking Bally Bar or just graphics in general?
Nah, Bally Bar, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah. So Bally Bar. So there is a laundry list of things that the our game producer will want to see appearing on the Bally Bar during the game. And so that stuff is all preloaded. So that can be simply as Central Division scores that night, Central Division schedule the next tomorrow night. Carolina Hurricanes goal leaders, assist leaders, penalty minutes leaders, plus minus leaders, Carolina Hurricanes promotions, anything coming up, so all that stuff is discussed in advance and pre-built. But there is the option for the Bally Bar operator to, if something happened urgently that required an immediate update, he can break into it and load that and run it immediately. So it's almost basically anything that needs to be on the screen. It can be done in real time.
Let's say you're doing a game and it's a non-Bally game, but you're going to put in a Bally Bar on your end, but the main feed is not a Bally feed. If you ask them to frame it a little differently, are they going to do that? Will they give you what you want? Do you figure, or will you just get stuck with however they frame it?
The latter. Yes, you can ask kindly, and you can try to play nicely in the sandbox. But at the end of the day, game framing is a very personal thing with the operator and also the director of the home show. So if we're taking a feed that day, anytime you say, "Hey, would you mind just loosening up a little bit? We're kind of can't see the net." And that seems to be a problem that never gets received well. So I found just from my couple of years in the business that you just leave it alone, and it kind of is what it is, and just look forward to the day that you can get back home and see it on the game camera the way that you like to see it.
I can picture the reception being, yeah, no problem, and then
Right.
you the
Oh
producer,
yeah.
and, yeah, we're not changing our show for them,
Oh yeah.
right? That you look at the
Yeah.
director, yeah, don't change anything, it's fine.
Yeah. That's the vanilla description of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, none of those words were the actual
Oh
words that are
yeah.
said.
Yeah. No.
No, no,
No.
no,
No.
no,
No.
no.
Exactly.
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was just a template for
Right.
what might be said at that
Yes.
time
Hmm.
in Fantasyland.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
No, there's
Yeah.
many other words that are used
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
None of them are those words.
They want us to do what? What are they losing their crazy? We got the best game op in the league. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Get out of my truck. It goes. It starts there
Oh,
and escalates.
yeah, it never de-escalates. That's right. Now, as a, where's that sign again? Pull that sign
Oh
up
yes,
again.
as
Yes,
a
as a right Bally Sports. I know that lives on your dashboard when you drive to the rink. I know what that's from. As a Bally, is there anything we didn't touch on here that we should explain about the Bally Bar? And
Well, I would just say to all those haters out there, just chill a little bit because you're gonna eventually come out of the cave and adapt to where the new bar is, just like you came out of the cave when they first started putting score bugs on, and you will come around to like it. But the technology is we're not even on the on ramp of the technology highway in terms of the Bally Bar.
can you
So
reveal things, or
um,
because you are a right? Can you reveal anything? Can we get any inside information here? Or are
not
we just gonna be twisting in the wind?
Not really, no, because my bosses in LA would frown upon that. But what I will tell you though is, it's no big secret. Bally Sports, the Bally and Bally Sports is Bally Casino Corporation, and yes, and gambling will be a part of it. But we're gonna crawl before we can walk, before we can run, and along that transition between those three stages, you're gonna see a lot of stuff that you've never seen before from a score bug on a sports broadcast. So then I look forward to reading all your tweets about how much you love it. And I'm screen grabbing all your negative ones right now, so I can put them out as a cold take later.
You know, one thing that's pretty cool when you think about it, love it or hate it, television is always changing. And that makes it a really fun business and industry to be involved in, right? Because you have that opportunity to make that change. Whereas in a lot of businesses, and I won't name any because it would be insulting to those businesses, they never change over what seems like decades. You
Right,
know, we've changed the colors of our pens this week and everybody's excited. But
right.
television never stopped. That's kind of cool.
Absolutely. I mean, so if you work in this business, your mantra has to be adapt and overcome. All right. Because if you're not, you're going to find yourself on the outside looking in. Right. I mean, I started in this business, it was SD in a 4x3 frame. Right. And,
That means
and
standard definition
yeah,
4 by 3
right,
is what
right.
that means.
So
Yes.
so just think your grandparents' TV. That's what I started. And so I've lived through 16:9 and how did I remember people were like, oh my goodness, like when we first started shooting 16:9, we had to 4:3 protect. So what a
That's
waste, right? I mean, you've got 16:9 of frame and you're only shooting basically a center cutout of it, right?
and you 4 by 3 protected because not everybody had a 16 by 9 TV,
Right,
so you couldn't put key items at the
right.
two edges of the screen because a guy watching in 4 by 3 wouldn't see it. Right.
Correct. And then, so we said, okay, so you people are not happy. So here's what we'll do. We want you, dinosaurs who haven't bought a new TV yet, we want you to get the full experience. So what we'll do is we will letterbox our feed. So basically, we take a 16:9 feed screen and crop the top and the bottom so that you can see it as a strip across your dinosaur TV. So you can actually get the full frame in 16:9. And the uproar at I remember doing first shows at TSN when that happened. People were freaking out. They were phoning TSN going, "What are you doing on my TV?"
Right.
So I mean, so I've lived through that. I've lived through 4K. I've lived through 3D. I've lived through 8K. I mean, yeah, you're right. Like it is completely changing. And if you don't get in the change lane, your career is going to be over in a hurry.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And some people don't adapt to that very well, and others say, "Look, this is cool, and maybe we can make it cooler this way." Or anyway,
Embrace technology, people. Embrace advancement. It's only
I
going to get better.
I do think one of the impediments for a viewer is anytime you're at a rink to get the score, you're never looking down. You're always looking up. So I think that's maybe where your eyes go naturally. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
just suspecting, but
Yep. You're fighting this. You're fighting for him there, Steve. I can see what you're doing. But at the end of the
I'm
day,
just
at the end of the day, I think when all the dust settles, everybody's gonna love it, and it's gonna be something, like when we went from SD to HD, or we went from HD to 4K. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but you're gonna learn to love it.
I'm just trying to see both sides. That's all I'm trying to do is see. I haven't watched a Bally's game yet. I won't lie.
Oh,
And when I
Steve,
do, no, when I do,
sacrilege.
I'm gonna tweet about it. Which and you may like the tweets or you may not. I doubt if you'll block me, but it does seem possible. Anything we haven't touched on there, Mr. Bally Sports employee?
That's it for today, Steve.
Okay, go put that thing back on your dashboard. I'm Steve. He's Paul. That's it for another Inside the Truck YouTube.